Okay, so what I wanted to quickly show here is something which I had hoped to show in class yesterday, but obviously we didn't have class. This is something that pretty fast options for lighting, as well as adding in ambient occlusion to your scene. This is something that is separate from any ambient occlusion work you might do in your textures. You can actually add in basically real-time ambient occlusion to your entire scene in Unreal. And this would be something you'd probably want to do towards the end. I mean, you could do it anytime, but it would be really helpful to do this to sort of like make your scenes pop and sort of look more natural, let's just say. So you can see over here, I just got a simple scene. I've got a sort of empty room and a little object in the corner. And you can see I've got it set to wireframe. I don't have any lighting in here yet. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is rather than adding in one of these lights I've shown before, like a directional light or point light or spotlight, I'm going to just try adding in a skylight here. Now, I'm not sure if I've talked about this, but this is just a kind of quick way to sort of brighten up your entire scene. I'm going to just drag one into the scene. I don't think it matters where you put it. Right now I'm in wireframe, so I'm going to switch over to lit. Now I don't see anything yet, and I think what I need to do is go over here to the properties or details for this skylight, and you'll notice, see how there's this section that says cubemap, and right above it there's this sort of SLS captured scene. What you can do with this skylight is you can bring in a panoramic image, an HDRI image. You can download lots of free ones, find ones, you can make your own. There's also one that's actually in Unreal if you've loaded in a scene or sort of project with starter content. You'll notice under starter content, if I go to HDRI, there's one already in there. And so the way I can bring this into this skylight, first I need to switch this source type right here to SLS specified cubemap. Then I can just drag and drop this right into the slot below it. You see how quickly that changed that? Basically what's going on here is it's taking all of the values as well as colors from this image and it's sort of compositing. You'll notice in this thumbnail this image has a lot of blues to it. That's why our scene here is very blue. So you have to be pretty careful with using one of these things, as it can really color your scenes dramatically. But you can see how it can just kind of create a pretty natural overall light right from the get-go. It should also have, it does have options for, like other lights, for intensity, for instance. You can see that went pretty nuts. You'll notice though, if I go down a little bit, it creates a subtler value. Okay. But I just wanted to do that. That's one possibility. You don't have to use this, but you might find that this adds a nice sort of overall lighting quality to your scene. But typically what I want you to do is to try and match as best as possible the lighting that you see in the reference that you've chosen. Now the other thing I wanted to show here is what I mentioned at the start, ambient occlusion. This is also fairly straightforward and quick, similar to how I set up that skylight. What I'm going to do is add in something called a post-process volume. You can find it here in visual effects. Remember, you can always just search if you know the name of something under search classes. Excuse me. You're looking for this post-process volume settings. And this is something you can drag and drop into your scene. It's going to be a cube basically. And you want to basically just scale this cube up to encompass your entire space. You just, with it selected, I'm going to first center it and just go to the scale tool, R, and then you can just start scaling it. You can see I'm just matching the width and the depth. And I'm also going to scale up to get the height. If you want to sort of move it up a little bit, you can. And that's basically it for prepping it. Once you've got that set up, you got a whole bunch of different settings, and you're welcome to mess around with these. But the one I will recommend you mess around with is over here, again, with this post-process volume selected, go down into the details, and let's see, where is it? You'll notice under here, under rendering features, this section called ambient occlusion. You'll notice by default they're unchecked. I'm going to just check off both of them. Now we shouldn't be able to see too much yet, but I'm going to get in close to this corner so you can really start to see this. I'm going to first off jack up the intensity, and you see how quickly that changed? We can really start to see ambient occlusion starting getting into all these crevices and corners. Now you want to be careful with this. You don't want to go too nuts with this intensity because then your ambient occlusion overwhelms and dominates. But a little something can really add a lot. Now you also have the radius, and this is the distance. You'll notice if I go lower, you get a sort of narrower, tighter kind of band or crevices. So you might find this easiest to see if I jack up the intensity to 1. Now you'll notice I get a very wide, diffuse kind of ambient occlusion or a very tight, narrow kind of ambient occlusion. So again, this will make your whole scene sort of pop and look a little more natural because this is just something that happens with light in the real world. I may include other videos over the course of the next few days if I think of them, but hopefully this is helpful to you.